There was this little lake down the road, a man-made pond really, but they called it a lake. The owners of the motor court had it stocked with brown trout, so you could go there and fish if you wanted. I used to go down there and watch the kids swimming or just walk around the pond. I've never been much for swimming, and I don't like fish. Not to catch them, cook them, eat them, or even look at them. Anyway, it was evening and the sky was real pretty. Everything was really peaceful, too peaceful, and it made me feel restless, like I wanted to stir things up. I didn't know how I'd do that, but it's how I felt. So I decided to go home and get high. I passed the main cabin where the owners lived with all of their kids. They had the place fixed up real nice, and they had all these bird houses and bird feeders all over the yard. There was this bird feeder hanging in a big blue spruce, like the kind you'd see back home in Wisconsin. And the little sparrows and chickadees would eat out of the feeder and drop seeds on the ground. So down on the ground, you'd always find these mourning doves eating the seeds from what the little birds dropped. Now the owners had this huge orange-striped tomcat with its ears all ripped up from fighting. That cat would crouch down there in the shadows under the lowest branches of the tree and watch the mourning doves. He would gaze at them for hours, it seemed like, patiently waiting for the right time to make his move. Sometimes I'd go by and the cat wouldn't be there, no birds either, but there'd be this pile of feathers. Not many, just the long feathers from the tips of the wings and some of that fluff birds have underneath to keep them warm, just next to their skin. Well, when I passed this time, one of the mourning doves was picking at seeds on the ground as if it had all the time in the world. And the cat was in his regular spot under the branches, frozen and staring at her. He shifted his body ever so slightly back and forth. He was picking up his head like he was figuring the distance between himself and that bird. And then, in one swift move, he sprang out from the shadows. He moved fast and silent, which was amazing because he was so big, from underneath the branches and caught that mourning dove in his paws. She didn't seem to struggle at all. She just squirmed and then twitched a little when the cat ripped into her. He ate her head first, swallowed her from the top down in less than a minute, the way a kid would tear through a chocolate bar. He didn't stop. He didn't stop until she was all gone, and when he was through, he sort of loped away slowly, limping, almost like he was drugged. And he left those feathers, those long feathers in the feet. I looked close at the spot where he ate her. There was no blood, no bones, nothing, but those long feathers from the tips of her wings and her feet. I wanted to be small like that bird. I wanted to feel the weight of that cat crushing my bones. I imagined what it would be like to be ripped apart in a storm of flesh and feathers. And I just stood there feeling dizzy, feeling this ache that I never felt before. I couldn't shake myself loose from that longing, and I didn't know where I'd have to go to satisfy it. I ran home, hoping Sam would see me and know what to do. Somehow I hoped he'd take me in the cabin and devour me the way the cat devoured that mourning dove. But when I got home, the cops were there, and terror chased the craving away, and I saw them get out of the car, and I looked closely to see if it was just cops or if my dad had come with them. But it was just two cops, these two highway patrolmen with their cowboy hats and big bacon and egg bellies. And I ran into the house and wouldn't come out to see them, not even to answer the questions they said they wanted to ask. They wanted to take my picture too, so they could send it back to my parents, so they'd know I was all right. But I never liked having my picture taken. And I certainly wasn't in any mood under the circumstances, that's for sure. Sam got them to go away and told me we had to pack up and leave because now my dad would know where we were. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to hit the road again and live all confined in the Corvair like before. I liked my little cabin in the country with my homemade curtains. I liked Clara and Carl, listening to all of them making up songs around the fire. I liked the little lake and all the colored cabins leading down the path. I liked the blue spruce where the orange tomcat hid, and I was angry because my dad was close behind and I had to run away again.